Today begins with silence, broken only by the slow creep of rain across the lens. Above the harbour, mist drifts like breath held in the throat of the world. A time-lapse unfurls, shadows racing, water trembling, clouds folding in upon themselves. The sun tries to rise, but the light is smothered, as though the wilderness itself decides when day begins. Strahan sits small at the edge of this vast harbour, its streets asleep, its boats waiting. And here we are, standing on the brink of Macquarie Harbour, ready to cross from the ordinary into the untamed. This is not a holiday. This is a passage into memory, into story, into one of Earth's last wild sanctuaries. The bow noses toward a narrow jaw of tide and rock. This is the mouth of Macquarie Harbour, notoriously shallow, choked by hidden bars and cross currents. To convicts bound for exile, it was more than a hazard, it was the point of no return. Sail through these teeth, and the world behind you vanished. Today we slide between Macquarie Heads and Entrance Island, past the small lighthouse that once promised nothing more than a fighting chance. The boat shivers, the wake unspools. We cross the line, wilderness ahead. James Kelly, a sealer and navigator, first forced a small open boat through these waters in December 1815. 5 men, surf and raw nerve. Imagine the silence that followed when they found the harbour's vast, protected inland sea beyond this one tight gate. Out past the gates, the ocean breathes against the bar. Inside, the harbour holds brackish calm. We search the slick water for a plume, a hush, the brief silver coin of a fluke. Some locals tell stories of whales nosing into calmer, fresher water during migration, rolling and resting before they push on. Others say it's simply curiosity and shelter from the swell. Either way, their visits here are fleeting. You see them if the place decides you've earned it. When a blow finally ghosts the surface, the boat goes quiet. We are guests. Whales do detour into these harbours and estuaries on occasion. The barnacle bathing idea is more local law than science, but we like it. In recent strandings near Hell's Gate, locals, skippers and aquaculture crews join rangers to guide pilot whales back to deep water, a town rallying for ocean giants. It doesn't always end the way we hope, but people here keep showing up. Upriver, order replaces chaos. Rectangles on the tide, feed barges, crews in high vis. Tasmania's modern story floats here, salmon and trout aquaculture, claiming low stocking densities and improved practices, the industry a lifeline for families in Strahan. At the same time, scientists have linked dissolved oxygen stress and ecological pressure in this unique harbour to fish biomass, drawing a circle in red around the critically endangered Maugean skate, a ray found nowhere else on Earth. The government has wrestled with caps, licences, even the question of whether to pull the farms entirely. Jobs on one pan, a rare species and a World Heritage estuary on another. The harbour asks us a hard question. Modern places keep asking, can we live here and still let here live? We land on Sarah Island, once called Hell on Earth by the men who survived it. From 1822 to 1833, this was a machine for punishment. The lash, the leg iron, rations thinned by cold rain and isolation. But the colony needed ships, and the island had Huon Pine. So the convicts became shipwrights. Hard hands, brilliant hands. And over a decade, they built scores of vessels, from small whaleboats to seagoing brigs and barks, that carried the colony forward. You can still feel it in the stones, cruelty and ingenuity side by side. Today the story is retold with a wink and a lump in the throat by Round Earth Company, guides who are also actors. By night they perform Australia's longest running play, The Ship That Never Was, a riotously human retelling of the Frederick escape, when 10 convict shipwrights hijacked the last ship built here and vanished over the horizon. The show has run since the 1990s. Once, to mark an anniversary, they even fired the playwright's ashes from a cannon. Strahan's way of saying stories still matter. Across the coastline of this continent, the early chapters of European Australia were written in shackles. Norfolk Island, Port Arthur, Fremantle, Moreton Bay, Sarah Island. Islands and outposts where the Empire tried to bury its unwanted. Each site shares the same skeleton of walls, cells and scars. But Sarah Island is different. It was small, brutal, isolated in a harbour hemmed by wilderness. Convicts here were not only punished, but pressed into industry, turning trees into ships for the very system that imprisoned them. Walking these ruins, it's impossible not to feel the enormity of this heritage, a nation born of forced labour, hardship and resilience. Today we walk freely among the stones, but the ground remembers every strike of the lash, every boat launched, every name lost to records. To wander Sarah Island today is to feel a dissonance. The sun warms your shoulders, the harbour glitters, tourists laugh and take photographs, and yet underfoot lie the bones of despair. In a modern Australia, with human rights enshrined in law and voices rising for reconciliation, it feels surreal to stand inside walls built for cruelty. Here is the strangeness. Once, men dreamed only of escape, chiselling hope into ship's timbers or carving it silently into stone. Now we step off a boat, spend an hour exploring, and sail away to comfort and freedom. That reversal, the ease of leaving what was once impossible to flee, reminds us not just how far society has come, but also of the fragile thinness of progress. Sarah Island is a paradox, a ruin of punishment, a stage for theatre, a reminder that heritage is not always pretty, but it is always powerful. Back aboard, the river becomes ink-black glass. Your wake writes and erases the same line, and rainforest doubles itself on the water. Cruisers step ashore at Heritage Landing, a short boardwalk loop where the air smells of rain and leaf resin and thyme. Here grow Huon pines, not true pines, but ancient podocarps, trees that can live for 2,000 or 3,000 years, with clonal stands on the west coast that trace back over 10 millennia. Their wood is oily, with methyl eugenol, sweet-scented and astonishingly rot-resistant. A Huon plank can last a century at sea. That's why the world once rushed to cut them. Without piners' tracks, punts, and rough bush camps, we might not be standing here. Their routes and river skills pulled outsiders deep into country, but those same axes nearly erased what we now call priceless. Today, 8,000 hectares of Huon habitat inside the World Heritage Area are protected. Only deadfall can be taken. The lesson is written in rings. What we love, we must learn to leave standing. Because Huon pine wood endures, sub-fossil logs let scientists build a 12,000-year tree ring record, a timeline of climate and seasons pressed into wood. The rainforest literally archiving the sky. As we step off the boat at Heritage Landing, the forest rises around us like a living cathedral. The boardwalk winds through the moss and shadow beneath the watchful presence of Huon pines. Some of these giants began life thousands of years ago, their slow growth a testament to patience and endurance. In this part of Tasmania, heavy rains fall for much of the year, more than 3 metres annually. Yet the Huon pine grows painfully, slowly, often less than a millimetre of trunk each year. When scientists cut cross-sections, the growth rings are so tightly packed they can barely be seen without magnification. Each ring marks not just a year, but a story of storms, floods, droughts, and the shifting rhythm of the forest. The Gordon River beneath us carries the stain of these forests in its dark, tannin-rich waters. It flows so calmly that it mirrors the canopy above, creating a perfect reflection, one forest above, another below. Interpretive signs here remind us of how close this place came to vanishing beneath a hydroelectric dam. It was these very waters and these very trees that ignited one of Australia's greatest environmental battles, shaping the way we think about wilderness today. Around us, ferns, mosses and lichens thrive in the constant rain and mist. The Palawa people understood this forest deeply, moving with the rivers and reading the land in ways that settlers would take centuries to even begin to grasp. Standing among the trees that have witnessed millennia, the pace of modern life feels almost irrelevant. Here, time is measured in raindrops and tree rings, not in hours or days. Stream, Hell's Gate, now a bright stitch of ocean ahead, Sarah Island, a low seam on the horizon, aquaculture barges working their rectangles, and the rainforest closing behind us like theatre curtains. Strahan comes back into view, and with it a feeling you don't always get to take home. We belong to a place for a few hours without asking it to belong to us. This harbour holds contradictions. The lash and the launch, jobs and wild things, the axe and the tree that outlived it. That's Tasmania, and that's the work, to keep choosing what endures.